Are you delusional in your after repair values? On the Wholesale Daily Show today, we're going to talk about how you can get so delusional on what you think a property's worth. You get excited, you get it, you do some stuff to it, and then when the rubber meets the road, you were way off on your after repair value, and that property does not perform how you think. My name is Dustin.
Josh here.
Corey. Oh, sorry, Josh.
We are the Wholesale Daily Trio. We bring to you this show live 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking about wholesaling, fixing and flipping, real estate in general, tax liens and deeds, virtual real estate investing, as we do all of our investing virtually. And we talk about lead generation. We're excited to kick off this week because it's a very dear topic. One of the things that we really try to do is just not sugarcoat things as much. You just see so many podcasts and people where it's just like this never-ending spike of just crushing it, $50,000, my student, 20 grand, this guy, blah, 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 right? When the reality is there's a lot of crap that happens in between those crushing it moments, as they would say. And I think it's a disservice not to share that, because this is the reality of it. We did over 60 properties last year, and we didn't crush it on all of them, and we're not always crushing it. There's always unforeseen facts or unforeseen things that will come up, but that's part of getting good at real estate, is going through the variables of screwing up, having a win, having a loss, and just trying to shorten those feedback loops and get the experience so that you can predict these things ahead of time, and then maybe you just are on a never-ending buffet wheel of crushing it, where every day there's just more checks depositing into your bank account than the math of the internet can compute.
Yeah. That's a lot of checks, man.
I think that's a lot of checks. That's our goal. That's our goal anyway. But today's topic, delusional after repair values, is a big one. See, Josh had started here on the board, but ran out of space. Podcasters listening, that doesn't concern you. We're going live on a couple channels. We're on Facebook, we're on the podcast, and we're on Instagram, which is great. We've got a brand new camera, microphone here, as this thing starts to blow up and take off. So this is a fun topic, and Josh and I will maybe play little musical chairs here, because you've really had your ups and downs on this.
Delusions
of ARV.
I've had delusions.
Or you want to stay there? It's up to you. Where do you want to sit?
Oh, this is cool.
Cool.
Yeah, I think one of the first ones would be the house we've got with an investor that we've had for a couple months now, and it's great. The house looks great. The rehab was great. We did price it a little bit wrong, and the reason that happened was because of the layout. So in ARV Delusions, avoiding that is, what about the layout? Because you can look at the square footage, you can look at the bed, bath, you can look at the exterior, and everything can look right. So you look at a house that's worth $100K. It was in the same year, maybe the same decade, 1950s. It's got same bed, bath, same square footage, same kind of finish. But if the layout sucks, that's really gonna hurt. And there's one house, this house we've had for a couple months now. Everybody loves the house except for the layout. And this is the thing that's crushing us. So that's just not something that I paid too much attention to in the past. Maybe I would have been more focused on looking at square footage, bed, bath, making sure all of these details are the same, and looking kind of at the house that's sold, what's the interior look like. But this layout thing definitely negatively impacted us. And so that's something then we brought with us to the future, where we pay attention to the layout. And does the layout make sense? Is it desirable? And it's not something that we could have, just smashed down a wall. It was kind of a different situation, and that was kind of crappy. So we still got that house. Someone wants to buy it. They work for the IRS, and so with everything going on with Trump, they're not feeling super secure and haven't made an offer. But that's the only thing that's it right now. Yeah.
What about, I remember you talking about the house on Zillow that it was, I forget the exact details, but it was close to a main street, or it was on a main street, but houses behind the main street had a higher ARV on Zillow.
Right.
You want to
Right.
that a little bit?
Yeah. So, I mean, the layout would probably be the first point, the inside. A second point, too, is when looking, a lot of times, if you look at a lot of these videos on YouTube, it's going to say, look at houses that are within half a mile, quarter of a mile, and use those as comps. But here's what you got to also pay attention to, is to take that one step further. What does that look like? And it would say, that would be, look at the road, or is it on a main street versus a subdivision? And so maybe you could draw it, Corey. If you draw like just a main road.
Okay.
Yeah, and then kind of draw like a small subdivisions.
Get the line markers here.
Yeah, so on the podcast, we're just drawing a main road, and then we've got a house on the main road, and then you've got houses in the subdivision that are behind it. And so proximity-wise, of course, it's really close, right? I mean, it might be a couple hundred feet, but it doesn't correspond because you got this main busy street, and it's going to be less desirable versus on the other side of that where maybe all of the houses have a little bit higher value, and so you can't use that the same way. We see that a lot where maybe Zillow or a couple different websites say that the house is worth 145 or 200K, and it's directly being affected by the neighborhood behind it that's not on the busy street. And so then it's easy to take that property value and put it on top of that house on the main street when they don't actually correspond at all. It doesn't work. And so that's another small area where it's easy to get those kind of ARV delusions. Or if you're on the cusp of a neighborhood changing, that's going to be another thing too. If your house is on the wrong side of the railroad tracks, yeah, that's another thing too. So you might look and say, oh, well, just
over here.
a quarter mile down the road or a quarter mile away, everything is so different. But if it's not moving in that direction, if the appreciation, if the houses and all this development is not moving towards you, then it's not going to matter even down the road. So that's something else too for ARV delusions. That's another. These are three kind of subtle ones that you might not hear about as much.
I like that. That's a good hook. 3 subtle ARV delusions.
I'll use that when I rename it.
By Josh.
Josh.
Yeah, I think that's as a real estate investor, something that you really need to work on, and it never really goes away. The delusion of what you think you're going to get and make versus what actually happens. And man, sometimes everything can be lined up so good, and you're like, oh, this is money in the bank. And then all of a sudden, like a lien pops out of the blue, or something happens, or you get a text message on a Sunday saying that a house that you only have to put $9K into has had a water leak and it's flooding, and you're effed.
Yeah, that didn't happen to us yesterday.
That didn't just happen to us yesterday
No,
on Sunday.
Not. 100%.
Josh did not almost
murder all of us. Really.
That's true. But anyways, yeah, that happened to us on Sunday. I think right now we're sitting on how many properties in our inventory?
That were that
just
are
total,
cutting,
like even the ones that are closing.
Oh, I think there's 9 kind of in pre-tune-up / tune-up / on the market, and then maybe 6 in closing, and maybe 1 floating somewhere. So yeah, a little bit less than 20,
Nice.
but closer to that than not.
Yeah, so we're doing this stuff from the whole spectrum, wholesaling, fixing and flipping. We have a long history of tax lien and deed investing. We're going to be hitting up some auctions coming up pretty soon. In April, actually, we do live auction trips.
Yeah.
So if you've ever wanted to join a live auction trip, it is a one-of-a-kind experience.
It is. It's
must
good.
I say.
It's a smooth plug.
It really is, actually, because everybody has real estate seminars, but we're actually going there to buy property for ourselves, and then we actually bring folks like you along for the ride. And many people that come on these trips actually buy property and make money off them, which is pretty cool. So if you're listening to the podcast, just what would they do? Go to the Modern REI Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
And just type the comment auction.
Yeah.
If you're watching online and ever want to join us type the word auction,
Yep.
and we can get you some details on that trip. And in addition to that,
No, you go.
do you have something?
No, I was just acknowledging what you said and hoping that you would continue saying it.
Thank you. In addition to that, for those of you guys watching that are wholesalers, whether you're brand new or experienced, we run a cold call wholesale lead generation sales floor. Cold calling leads is very powerful, but it's also really, really challenging. And it works in batches. So what I mean by that is when we pull a batch of leads in our city that we're working, our team calls through all those leads within a few days. And then it takes a while for the responsive lists to kind of fill back in like a waterfall type thing, filling a pond. So what we decided to do is rather than have our team sit idle, we actually generate leads for investors like you guys. So if you're listening to the podcast, you can go to modernrei.com. There's a video there on how we can get you details on providing leads. If you're watching on Instagram, type the word leads.
And direct message.
And direct message us actually as well. Just send us a direct message that says leads.
Yeah.
Get your details there. YouTube, Facebook, type the word leads. We can get you more information. Once again, we bring this show to you every day, 5 days a week. We try not to go too long because there's a lot of really long podcasts out there.
Yeah.
Give you a few tips. So today we covered the delusions of the ARV. Keep that in mind and slowly try to inoculate yourself. Inoculate is when you are getting used to something, right?
Is it?
I think so.
I hope so.
I think that's the word. Slowly acclimate. No, what's the word?
Acclimate is getting used to something.
Acclimate, but
Yeah.
there's also the word where you inoculate, right? Isn't that against like where you give yourself doses of the virus? Maybe once again,
Ooh.
maybe we're obviously
I'm not
highly
sure.
qualified medical
Yeah.
specialists, but
I forgot that lesson.
as you are, and don't judge me for misusing the English language, but what I'm trying to close this out on is eventually don't count the money till it's in your account. Try to be as emotionally disconnected from any profits whatsoever until the deal's closed and the money's in the bank, because
Amen.
there's always going to be landlines. There's going to be landmines
there we go.
hiding at that 3-yard mark when you've friggin' taken your hands off the wheel and coasting across the finish line, and then
Yep.
next thing you know, your Jeep's tipped over, fuel's leaking,
Yeah.
and you got to walk back to base.
Just like the Rams when they dropped those 2 touchdowns yesterday.
Yeah, I never watched it.
Yeah, I only watch sports a little bit, so.
So once again, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
See you, everybody.